I just went to PCR, Pagan Community Retreat. Just got back yesterday afternoon. I had an amazing time. Met a lot of wonderful, beautiful, interesting people. Gave my presentation, listened to a lot of presentations, participated in some rituals and ceremonies, and it was just an amazing time. And then I get back home and I'm talking to one of my children about it. And we're both musicians. My son and I are both musicians, and we both struggle with imposter syndrome. And my partner that presented with me also struggled with imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is, if you don't know, the feeling that basically you're not good enough to be doing whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's giving a speech in public, presenting something that you have created to other people, giving your opinion in a conversation, whatever. And it's definitely a symptom of trauma, first of all. And it's very common in our society, in American society, because personally, this is just my personal feelings, I'm not a psychologist, but we have all lived in this environment where everything that we see on TV is expert opinion, right? Whether it doesn't matter whether even if it's just a reality show, even if it's like, let's say, one of these talent shows, we are like, the good people go on to compete and win, and the bad people get made fun of. So of course, when we go to present something, there's this fear that we've been taught. If you are bad, people are going to make fun of you. If you are good, people will be amazed by you, but you have to be really, 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 really good. And a lot of that, I think, is also compounded in childhood, where, I don't know about you, but my childhood was pretty cruel in that if I did something in class or around my peers that was embarrassing and I got made fun of, laughed at, picked on, beat up, whatever, there was little to no adult intervention. I know in some ways the school system has gotten better. I have children in school. In some ways it has gotten worse in the 30 years since I graduated from high school. Almost 30, 28 years. But specifically in the 80s and 90s, like, nobody really gave a fuck. You was your own. Nobody was going to tell the mean kids to shut the fuck up. Nobody was going to tell the kids who got picked on, hey, it's okay, you're valuable. It was strictly like, you figure that out on your own. That's highly traumatizing, that there's no adult intervention. I do believe in gentle parenting. I missed that boat. I was not so gentle with my kids, and never even heard of gentle parenting until a couple years ago. But now that I understand it, and that I have done some inner child work, I definitely agree with gentle parenting and wish that I could have done that with my children. However, gentle parenting doesn't mean to be a pushover. It means being gentle. It doesn't mean you're not parenting your children. You're not raising them. You're not correcting the behavior that is not congruent for getting along in a society. What people think that means is keep your kids from being weird because other people are going to make fun of them. No, you are buying into that. Stop being weird. All your problems are because you're weird. You know what? It's the weird thing is this narrow band of behavior that is acceptable in our society, and everything else is weird and should be punished. You should be punished for being neurodivergent, for being mentally ill, for just being odd or weird or not following in the norm. The norm fucking sucks. Fuck the norm. The norm is an unreal thing that has been created and pushed into our face as if this is the standard of acceptable conduct, and it is not. The standard of acceptable conduct is treat all living things with dignity and respect. All living things means the people who are acting fucking weird. So in raising your child right is not raising them to not be weird. It's raising them to be gentle with the people who are weird. Gently, right? Because you're a gentle parent. So, I'm not an expert in gentle parenting, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly how to do that. My kids are almost grown. Thankfully, I don't need to learn how to parent all over again. But when your kid is making fun of somebody else, it is being a bully. It's you didn't like, no, just go ahead and do that. You guys figure it out on your own. No, like there's some intervention, there's some teaching there that needs to happen. How do you think that person feels? How are you influencing how they feel? Understanding that your words and your actions hurts other people and creates trauma that they then will either affect them for the rest of their life, or they will have to go through a healing process. Hurting other people traumatizes you. The abuser gets traumatized just as much as, well, not just as much. The abuser is traumatizing themselves. It is not a right thing to do to hurt other people for no reason at all. So you are hurting your own soul when you do that. A lot of times unbeknownst to you. But none of that existed when I was a kid. And for a lot of us out there, it was just, you're being weird, ha 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 ha, fuck you, nobody likes you. But then we see, rock stars and actors and even just people who do, shit like juggling or ventriloquism, that in most, day-to-day life, you really go, oh, that's interesting. But on TV, you typically only see the best people in the world who do that shit. So this is creating an environment where you need to be as good as them, or nobody wants to fucking hear about it. Another thing in our capitalist society that contributes to this is that you need to at least be good enough to make money doing something, or again, nobody gives a shit. Again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just kind of summarizing what I think are some of the causes of imposter syndrome. And I sure as hell had imposter syndrome going into this past weekend, knowing that I was going to present on magic and mental health for the very first time in public. And it went very well. It went amazing. I was very grateful. And then when watching the other presenters, I realized some of them have twice the experience that I have. Some of them have very little experience compared to me. But I learned just as much from the person who had been, I think they said that they've been practicing for a couple years, and it was one of the best presentations there. But also one of the best presentation there is somebody who's been practicing twice as long as I have. I learned something from everybody. Everybody contributed. Everything was helpful and educational and wonderful and interesting. And I'm going all the way around the circle to say this, that you are enough. It doesn't matter if you are good compared to somebody else. Chances are whoever I am never going to be Aleister Crowley. It's not really my goal. I'm never going to be the top magician in the world. It's not really my goal. I continue to learn, and to every day I continue to learn. And that process will probably happen the rest of my life. But it is not my goal to feed my ego and become the top renowned magician in the world. So why am I getting in my head that I am not worthy of sharing what I know because I'm not the best in the world? Because that's cultural programming. Unless you're the best, nobody gives a shit what you have to say. And I'm going to kind of shift gears here a little bit. We're living in a time of transition. A lot of people say, it's the end of civilization. And maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, not only are bad things happening right now, have been for quite a while. That the whole existence on this planet has seemed pretty bizarre for the last 8 to 10 years. And I'm sure you, as well as I, never thought that we would live through a fucking plague, and so many things that have just happened and are happening that are just fucking weird. And astrologically, both, psychics, mediums, astrologers, prophets are all saying it's going to get worse before it gets better, From what, and I'm not setting myself up as a fortune teller myself. I guess you could say, like, I read the strands of society, and compared to a lot of study I've done in history, I just, life follows patterns. And I agree that it's going to get worse before it gets better. How bad is it going to get? I don't know. But there's definitely, the hard times are not over. And we are up against just nastiness. There's so much anger and fear and hate. As much as it felt like the world was starting to become a better place to be, now it feels like we are fighting to hang on to basic human rights. And how do you fight that? Again, there's many ways to fight it. I'm not taking away from the people who go out and protest, but I don't think that's the most effective thing to do. There's people who push for laws to be changed. There's people who file lawsuits. There's many, many, many different ways to fight against this darkness. But for me, in my mind, the best and most effective way is to be pumping out beauty and love. So if you're sitting at home and you are a musician or an artist, maybe that can mean so many different things, right? Maybe you make digital art, maybe you dance, maybe you write, maybe you do magic, maybe you write poetry, even fan fiction. It doesn't fucking matter. Maybe you're funny. The cultural pushback, that imposter syndrome, that I'm not good enough because I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional, what I do is weird. First of all, let me just say that in my experiences, people are not as harsh as is portrayed in movies and TV, and even from my own childhood. I did have very painful, embarrassing moments in childhood when you get up in front of class and you make a mistake and everybody laughs at you. That kind of shit definitely did happen to me. But as an adult, not so much. You kind of have to seek out those venues that have a reputation of being difficult, of people will like boo you off the stage, right? But I've participated in open mic nights and, you know, put my stuff out on the internet, and I've had YouTube channels of just my music, and always been scared, never really promoted myself that much. And yet now that I'm looking back and reflecting on it, nobody ever said you suck. You kind of have to get to a certain level where anybody is, you know, like, sure, if you are famous, then people are going to kick back at you just because people are people, and a lot of them were not taught by their parents to not hurt people's feelings. So they're just absolutely shitty for no reason. There's a lot of music that I like, and there's a lot of music I don't like, and it's completely a matter of personal preference, and I have never ever felt the need to get on a musician's personal website or social media account and rant at them because I don't personally like their style of music. Like, you could just, there's plenty of other things to listen to. There's absolutely no need to be an asshole. But people are people. Reality, though, is that most of us, if we're just sharing things with mostly our friends, people are not, from what I see, people are not as harsh as we think they are. So, number one, the fact that you think you're going to get judged, you're probably not. Number two, if you do, if you are, you have no obligation to interact with them. There seems, in people, there may be different, I know there's different opinions on this. This is my opinion. As somebody who is trying to push love and beauty into the world, but also struggles greatly with mental illness, that I do not feel obligated to interact with or respond or defend myself, apologize. And when you say apologetics, doesn't mean to apologize, to say I'm sorry. Apologetics means to defend your statement, right? I don't feel the need to interact on that level anymore, because like when I was putting out videos regularly on TikTok, when I said something about racism, and that's when people, like, I was mostly just ignored, a couple hundred people watching my videos. All of a sudden I did one video about racism, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, you were a race traitor and all this crazy nonsense. And I just mostly just deleted those comments. And a lot of people feel the need, oh, I have to personally respond to every single one of my haters. Haters gonna hate. And here's the thing. A lot of philosophers have said over many, many, many years, some version of, you are not going to change these people's minds. Think about who you have to be and how much hurt you have to, what kind of hurt headspace that you have to live in all the time, every day, to say, there's somebody who did a little something. Maybe it's funny, maybe it's just their personal opinion, maybe it's a piece of art. Put it out on the internet. I'm going to go seek out the things that piss me off and rant about them and harass this person's life. Try my best to just make them absolutely miserable. Well, here's the funny thing. When I said the abuser is abusing themselves, how happy are you? If you're the kind of person who feels a troll, who you feel after spending 8, 10, 9, 10 hours a day stressing yourself out at work, you feel like the most important thing you can do with your life is to seek people out on the internet that you do not enjoy what they do. Instead of going out and seeking out things that make you happy, that calm you down, that de-stress you after this long day of adulting, is being stressed out, and seeking out things that edify you, that feed your soul, that calm you down, that make you happy. You're going to purposefully seek out things that piss you off, and you're going to teach them a lesson. First of all, no, you're not. Second, everybody's going to do what they're going to do. Secondly, if you are the person who is being attacked, there's absolutely nothing that you're going to say that's going to change this person's mind that sought you out, probably doesn't even know you, that sought you out just to shit on your fucking day. There's nothing that you're going to do that's going to change their mind. And you're not obligated to. I just delete the comments and block them. I don't give a shit. My mental health comes first. My mental health comes first. It's my life. It's my life. I need to enjoy my life. Nobody has the right to abuse me. I don't give a fuck if it's a stranger on the internet. I understand that if I put some content on the internet, people are allowed to comment on it. I also understand that I'm allowed to delete those comments. I do not in any way feel obligated to engage on that level. I have to protect my mind and my heart. Number one. That's my top priority. So number one, people are not going to judge you the way they think that you think they are. Number two, if they do, fuck them. Fuck the haters. Number three, people are very likely to really enjoy your shit more than you're better than you think you are. I see the most amazing art on the internet. And I'm not an art expert. I enjoy art, but I'm not educated on what I'm looking at. But I see people doing little doodles with a pencil and a piece of paper that to me look better than anything that classical art has ever produced. We are living in an age where the knowledge of techniques of art are so widespread, so readily available. You can fucking YouTube how to do art. You realize like that knowledge has not been that readily available. Way back in the day, you would have to go apprentice with somebody or go to college or something to learn how to do art. Now you can look it up, free articles or videos on the internet, and people learn on their own how to do art, and they master techniques, they invent techniques, they're doing some amazing fucking shit, and it's just people in their own fucking free time. That's how to spend your free time. Spend your free time creating beauty and art and bettering yourself, not seeking to destroy your own mind by looking for things that intentionally make you angry. And I've seen some of the most beautiful things that are just being made by people who they're not experts, they're not on TV, there's not been any autobiographies written about them or movies made about their lives. They're just folks writing songs, dancing dances, making art, making beauty. And so number 4 is that's what you need to do. That is, to me, in my mind, the best way we can contribute to this fight of whatever you want to say, good versus evil, chaos versus order, love versus hate, whatever cultural fucking war that we're in right now. The best thing you can do is to contribute love and beauty. And if you're sitting there thinking, I do this, I make music, I make this, but I'm not good enough. You're good enough. You're good enough. You're good enough to make one other person happy. And if you can make one other person happy, isn't that an amazing fucking thing? Look back on the times in your life where a song or a piece of art had an impact on you. Maybe it saved your fucking life. Does the person who created that art, did you look them up and send them a letter? Probably not. And you might never know If you put something out there, just just create beauty. You have something to teach us, teach us. Do it. You have no idea. You might not get a like, you might not get a share, you might not become an influencer, you might not make a single fucking dime off of the shit that you create, but maybe you'll have an impact on somebody's life. Maybe you'll change their life. Maybe you'll save their life, and you might not ever know. But the world is pretty much more or less about equivalent exchange. If you have been taking and taking and taking beauty your whole life, you have been consuming all these things. You've been consuming music, you've been consuming art, you've been consuming books and movies and TV and all of this. You've been taking, and you have something to create. It is the law of equivalent exchange. You owe the universe to give back. The universe is giving you beauty every day, every sunset, every flower, every tree, every bird song. The universe is going through a tremendous amount of effort to put beautiful things in front of you. It is your obligation to return the favor. Art is sacred. It is holy. It is the highest purpose of society, is to create beauty, not to create money, value, not to make shareholders wealthier. That is not why we're here. We are here to love and to be loved. Sure, we have to do all the other nonsense. I'm driving to work right now. But that's not the purpose of my life. The purpose of my life, of our lives, is to live. Just to live. What is the purpose of life? Life. That's it. We're here just to have the fucking experience. And anything we can do to make that experience more wonderful, more awesome, more amazing for ourselves and for other people is a worthwhile